My ex-wife told the divorce judge I was just a part-time bookkeeper. 6 months later, her million-dollar restaurant empire collapsed. She lost her investor, and the IRS came knocking. I didn't break any laws or seek revenge. I just stopped fixing her mistakes and let her business run exactly how she'd been running it without me. This is how removing one person, me, brought down an empire built on hidden cracks. Sometimes the best revenge is just stepping aside and letting gravity do its work. My contractor father always said foundations crack from the inside out. You just don't see it until it's too late. Standing in my Nashville apartment 6 months after my divorce, I held documents that would prove him right. The smell of black coffee filled my kitchen as morning rain tapped against windows. My fingers found their old rhythm, drumming where my wedding ring used to be. Strange how habits outlive marriages. Today, I would meet with Lisa and her investor, Bradley Coleman. Not to destroy them, but to show them what they'd been standing on all along. This wasn't about cruelty. It was about removing myself as the foundation I never knew I was. The documents on my table weren't stolen or secret. They were patterns anyone could see if they looked. I grabbed my keys, knowing that sometimes the best revenge is simply letting people see exactly what they built without you. I'm Daniel Matthews, and for 11 years, I was the invisible half of Nashville's most celebrated restaurant success story. Started when Lisa and I were 27, newly married, her running a food truck while I worked full-time as an accountant and managed her books at night. That cramped apartment above what would become her flagship restaurant, where I'd work until 3 a.m. building inventory systems, while grease smell permanently lived in our clothes. I negotiated every vendor contract, structured the expansion loans, created the systems that let her scale from 1 truck to 6 locations. The night we hit our first $1 million in revenue, she cried in my arms. "We did it, Danny," she said. But somewhere between restaurants 3 and 6, we became she in every interview, every article, every success story. Miguel, our head chef since day one, used to joke I was the wizard nobody saw. My flaw? I thought being indispensable meant being valued. 6 months ago, Lisa announced she was leaving me for Bradley Coleman, her newest investor. "You're holding me back," she said, like I was outdated software she'd outgrown. The first month after she left was the hardest. Not because I missed her, but because I kept getting calls from the restaurants. Vendors asking about late payments, managers needing system passwords, staff confused about scheduling software I'd built. I gave them all the same answer. I'm no longer involved with the business. Each call was a small vindication that I'd mattered, followed by the hollow realization that Lisa hadn't even noticed these gaps yet. She was too busy with Bradley, posting photos from investor dinners, while her operations slowly unraveled. My therapist asked if I felt satisfaction watching from afar. "No," I told her honestly. "I feel like I'm watching a car accident in slow motion, and I'm the only one who knows the brakes were cut." She challenged that metaphor. Was I the one who cut the brakes? No. I was the mechanic who'd been pumping them manually for years. Now I'd simply stopped. The divorce proceedings revealed who Lisa had become. Her lawyer painted me as a part-time bookkeeper living off my successful wife, despite my 60-hour weeks, and the fact that I still worked my day job while managing her entire back office at night. The settlement gave me nothing from the business. The prenup I'd signed in love now a cage. Walking out of court, I heard Bradley tell someone, "Now we can finally modernize without Daniel's conservative approach." That's when I understood. This wasn't just divorce. It was erasure of my contributions. Lisa had been telling staff I was too controlling, that she'd built everything despite me. That evening in my empty apartment, something shifted. Not anger, clarity. My father's voice echoed, "When you're the only thing holding something together, Stepping away shows all the cracks. If they wanted me gone, fine. But I'd document exactly what would happen without me there to catch their mistakes. 3 months passed. I kept my regular accounting job, started rebuilding my life. Then Miguel called. "Danny, I shouldn't be calling, but people are getting paid in cash now, no overtime records. And there's this new vendor charging crazy prices." He wasn't asking for help, just venting to someone who'd understand. That weekend, I pulled public records, business licenses, tax filings, health department reports. All public information. What I found was interesting. Nashville Premium Supplies, their new vendor, was registered to Bradley's assistant. The address? A mail drop. The pattern was clear to anyone who understood business. Inflated invoices, money moving in circles. I didn't need to steal documents. The truth was hiding in plain sight for anyone who knew how to look. My sister Emma, visiting from Memphis, saw me surrounded by printouts. "You planning something?" she asked. "No," I said honestly. "I'm just watching what happens when nobody's watching the store." The public records deep dive became my weekend project. Tennessee's Secretary of State website, Davidson County's business registry, even the health department's inspection database. I built a spreadsheet tracking Bradley's business history, using only information anyone could Google. The pattern was surgical in its precision. He'd find successful but overwhelmed operators, usually women, invest just enough to gain financial control, then systematically inflate costs through shell vendors. The genius was that it looked like bad management, not fraud. Restaurant margins are thin. A 40% cost increase kills profitability in months. I found 7 restaurants he'd touched. 4 bankrupt, 2 sold for pennies, 1 still fighting. Lisa was number 8. The timeline suggested she had maybe 4 months before hitting critical cash flow problems. Part of me wanted to let it happen. The other part, the part that remembered the woman who'd cried with joy at our first success, knew I had to at least give her the information. What she did with it was her choice. At my day job, I specialized in restaurant accounting, completely separate from Lisa's business, but the same industry. I started noticing patterns. 2 other restaurant groups Bradley had invested in showed similar vendor irregularities before failing. Public bankruptcy filings told stories. Inflated costs, mysterious vendors, then sudden collapse. Bradley wasn't just an investor. He was a vulture, inflating expenses to drive down profitability, then buying out desperate owners for pennies. Lisa didn't know she was his next target. I felt something unexpected. Concern for the woman who discarded me. Not love, but human decency. She was arrogant, dismissive, but she didn't deserve to lose everything to a predator. The question was, did I warn her or let her learn the hard way? A forensic accountant I knew from professional circles looked at the public patterns I'd found. No privileged information, just connecting dots anyone could connect. "This is a classic bust-out scheme," she said over coffee. "Inflate costs, destroy profitability, force a sale. All technically legal if you can't prove intent." She explained how the IRS might view those vendor payments if someone reported them. How the Department of Labor might see those cash payments to workers. All hypothetical, of course. That night, I made a decision. I'd request one meeting with Lisa and Bradley. Not to threaten or blackmail, but to show them what I'd found in public records, what anyone could find, what the IRS would definitely find if they looked. Lisa had built something real once. Maybe she deserved one chance to save it from the vulture she'd chosen over me. I scheduled the meeting through her assistant. "Tell her I have information about Bradley's other investments she needs to see." The meeting was in 2 weeks. I prepared carefully. Public bankruptcy documents, business registrations, tax filing patterns from Bradley's other ventures. The morning of the meeting, I felt calm. No nervous energy, no revenge fantasies. just clarity. I dressed in my usual work clothes. No power plays, no dramatic gestures. Miguel texted that morning. Heard you're coming in today. Good luck. Even the staff sensed something shifting. The restaurant still smelled like fresh bread and coffee when I arrived at 10 a.m. before lunch rush. Lisa had chosen her own turf. Smart. Bradley was there, confident, legs crossed, scrolling his phone. Lisa looked tired. Stress lines that weren't there 6 months ago. She'd been fighting to keep things together without realizing she was being sabotaged from within. Daniel, she said coldly, this better be important. I placed a single folder on the table between us. Bradley's invested in 4 restaurants before yours, I began, sliding public documents across. Brennan's Kitchen, 2019. Saffron Grove, 2020. 2 more in 2021. All followed the same pattern. New vendors appear, costs inflate by 40%. Owner forced to sell within 18 months. Bradley's phone lowered slowly. Lisa's forehead creased. These vendors, Premium Supplies, Quality Foods Direct, Nash Provisions, all registered to the same addresses. Same week they started billing inflated prices. Bradley stood. This is slander. I'll sue. It's all public record, I interrupted. Anyone can find this. The IRS will find it when they investigate why your restaurants keep failing. The Department of Labor will find those cash payments when employees complain about missing overtime. Lisa was reading now, really reading. You're setting me up to fail? She asked Bradley, voice small. He tried damage control. Lisa, baby, he's manipulating you. Don't you see? He's bitter about the divorce. But numbers don't lie. The evidence was too clear, the pattern too consistent. Lisa's hands shook as she compared invoices on her phone with the vendor analysis I'd provided. We're paying 30% more than market rate, she whispered. Danny always handled pricing. I trusted you, Bradley. He switched tactics, turning to me. What do you want? Money? The business? You think this little show makes you the hero? I shook my head. I want nothing. I'm just returning something Lisa left behind. The truth about what happens when you remove the person who actually knows how to run a business. Lisa's face flushed, pride warring with recognition. Don't pretend you're doing this for me, she said. I'm not, I admitted. I'm doing it for Miguel and the 30 employees who don't deserve to lose their jobs because you chose a predator over a partner. What you do with this information is your business. I just thought you should know your boyfriend's recipe for success involves cooking the books until there's nothing left but the debt. Here's what's going to happen, I said, standing. I'm walking away. But Lisa, you have maybe 3 months before your cash flow can't cover the inflated vendor costs. Check your actual food costs versus what Premium Supplies charges. Check your real payroll versus what's being reported. I'm not your husband anymore, not your accountant. But nobody deserves what he's planning. Bradley's face had turned ugly, the charm mask slipping. You can't prove anything, he spat. I don't have to, I replied. Lisa's smart enough to prove it herself, now that she knows where to look. And Bradley, the IRS offers whistleblower rewards for reporting tax fraud. 20% of recovered funds. Those other restaurant owners you destroyed. They might be very interested in that program. Lisa looked between us, processing. For the first time in years, I saw the woman I'd married. Sharp, calculating, survivalist. Get out, she told Bradley. Get out of my restaurant. Our partnership is dissolved as of now. He threatened lawyers, lawsuits, but Lisa had already pulled out her phone, calling her attorney. Bradley didn't go quietly. Over the next 2 weeks, he filed injunctions, claimed breach of contract, tried to freeze restaurant accounts, but Lisa had something I'd taught her years ago: detailed documentation. She'd started recording their conversations after our meeting, caught him admitting to the inflated vendor schemes, thinking he was safe. Her lawyer, the same one who'd painted me as worthless in divorce court, now used my public records research to build a fraud case. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. Bradley's mistake was underestimating both of us, assuming Lisa was just a pretty face who could cook, assuming I was too bitter to be strategic. His own paper trail, which he'd thought was clever, became evidence. 3 of his former victims came forward when word spread. The IRS opened an investigation. Bradley's lawyers negotiated his exit from Lisa's business in exchange for her not pursuing criminal charges. He left Nashville within a month, his reputation destroyed in a city where everyone knows everyone. 3 months later, I got a text from Miguel. Bradley's gone. Lisa's running things herself now. She had to close 2 locations but kept 4. Staff getting proper overtime now. I felt no satisfaction, just relief that 30 employees kept their jobs. Lisa never thanked me. I didn't expect her to. But she did send one email, the foundation metaphor. I get it now. I was so busy building up, I never looked at what I was building on. I didn't reply. Some conversations are better left closed. The IRS did investigate Bradley after 2 of his former victims filed whistleblower claims. Last I heard, he'd left Tennessee entirely. Lisa's restaurants survived, smaller but steadier. She hired a real CFO, someone who watches for cracks. My life moved forward. New apartment, same steady job, peace. Sometimes I drive past the flagship restaurant. The food truck where we started is gone, replaced by a modern delivery system. Everything changes. But foundations, those either hold or they don't. The aftermath wasn't clean like in movies. Some staff blamed me for the chaos, not understanding I'd actually saved their jobs. Others saw me as the villain who'd broken up the golden couple. Nashville's restaurant scene is small. Gossip travels fast. For months, I was either the bitter ex-husband or the unsung hero, depending on who told the story. I lost some friends who chose sides, gained unexpected allies from Bradley's former victims who reached out to thank me. A woman named Carmen, who'd lost her Austin barbecue joint to his schemes, called me crying. "I thought I was just a bad businesswoman," she said. "You showed me I was targeted." That call justified everything. My reputation in professional circles actually improved. Turns out, exposing a predator with nothing but public records and careful analysis is exactly the kind of thing that impresses other accountants. I got offers from bigger firms, turned them all down. Peace was worth more than prestige. 6 months have passed now. From my office, I can see downtown Nashville without feeling bitter. A client mentioned Lisa won a local business award last week. Comeback of the year. I felt nothing negative, just a distant recognition that she'd learned what I'd always known. Success built on shaky ground never lasts. Miguel called yesterday. He's opening his own place. Asked if I'd help with the books. "Just the setup," he said. "I want to build it right from the start." As I drive to meet him, I pass the building where Lisa and I started everything. I don't slow down anymore. My father was right about foundations and cracks. But he taught me something else too. When a foundation is beyond repair, the kindest thing you can do is step away and let people rebuild on their own terms. Some might call what I did revenge. I call it removal. I removed myself from the equation and let math do what math does, balance out. And sometimes, that's the sweetest justice of all. Not destroying someone, but showing them exactly what they had, exactly what they chose to lose, and exactly who was holding it all together.